Hey guys, I hope you're doing good. I had a really great Sunday message this morning and I wanted to share it with you. So what's really funny is when I first got my pamphlet at church, it says how to get the most from your money. And so I'm like, oh, this is going to be my lesson because I need to understand how to get the most from my money. In reality, I need to understand how to save my money. What the message actually turned out to be about, though, was appreciating your money and how to treat your money. And I just thought it was so what people today needed to hear, because we get really caught up in spending. We get stressed out. Our campus preacher made a really funny statement, and he says his thing is the Krispy Kreme donut sign. When they say like fresh and it like lights up, he said he feels like it's almost the Holy Spirit lighting up the sign. He said he gets caught up in it too, just as we get caught up in, the shopping and the extra spending and sometimes the hoarding as well. So I wanted to read you a little story in the Bible, and this was actually one that I have never read before, and I thought it was really good. It's in Luke, and it has to do with getting a surplus of something and what should be, in fact, done with it. So the person in the story did not do the correct thing with their money. They actually kind of hoarded it, basically, and the Lord was not proud of that. So let me read you the story, and then we can talk a little bit about it. So the story says, "And he told them this parable. The ground of a certain rich man yielded an abundant harvest. He thought to himself, 'What shall I do? I have no place to store my crops.' Then he said, 'This is what I'll do. I will tear down my barns and build bigger ones, and there I will store my surplus grain.'" Notice the word my surplus grain. "And I'll say to myself, 'You have plenty of grain laid up for many, many years. Take life easy, eat, drink, and be merry.' But God said to him, 'You fool, this very night your life will be demanded from you. Then you will get what you have prepared. Who will get what you have prepared for yourself? This is how it will be with whoever stores up things for themselves, but is not rich towards God.'" Luke 12:16-21. So I'm sorry if you hear my chihuahua bark. She's probably going to bark through the majority of this video. It's because we have a friend over at our house, and even though she's excited and she likes people, she barks too when she gets excited. So that's what's going on out there if you hear that. Hopefully you can hear me clearly. So what this story is saying, it's not that God wants to punish people. I know that God doesn't take pleasure in punishing anyone, but it's part of learning. I mean, even as children, we all grow up and we're like punished as children to learn what is right and what is wrong. So the mistake that this man did was that he was thinking about himself, and he was hoarding it all for himself. He didn't even think about sharing with his friends, sharing with his family, bringing some of the surplus food to people in need. He kept it all to himself, and he didn't ask himself, how can I serve the Lord with this food? What would the Lord want me to do with this surplus amount of items? And I don't know why, but like it just brings me pleasure that this is kind of a story of somebody that had issues with hoarding, because he was going to tear down his barn that was already built to build a bigger barn and store more in it. So I'm sure in his mind he reasoned that out as, well, I can shove more stuff in it. But what happens when he gets more grain and more surplus things? Does he tear down the medium-sized barn and build a large barn before it like takes over the whole entire area? So it makes a lot of sense, and it's something I really needed to think about, because I used to tend to buy surplus items that I did not need, and I would almost hoard them. I mean, if you're thinking of the show Hoarders on TV, I was never at that level, very thankfully. I'm a very organized person, but at the same time, I had excess so much stuff, and I'm just like, what could I do with this? And I ended up donating most of it or selling it to people who could use it and whatnot. So this message really caused me to think. So it says how to get the most from your money. Give yourself to God. So trust in God, and remember that your body and your items belong to God. Technically, everything is His. He created you. He brought you into this world. And I truly believe with all my heart that there is a heaven There's a bigger place than what we can even imagine. There's a city, and we will go to it when we pass away. And He has prepared that for us. So we just have to trust in Him. Something that my preacher actually brought up today that I've never heard of is two words called scarcity mentality. If you're like, what in the world is that? So he doesn't think that people should have a scarcity mentality, because if they do, let me explain to you what it is. Well, what it will do is it will destroy anything you have. So we don't want scarcity mentality. What that is limited resources and being envious of others. So when we have money, or we don't have money, we don't want to look at our situation and envy others like crazy, because if we don't focus on ourselves and how to get ourselves out of the situation, and we're consumed with envying other people, we go into this panic mode and we don't think clearly about our money and we don't take care of it. So that is one of the aspects of a scarcity mentality. Another one is negative thoughts and someone who uses scarcity language. So just having negative thoughts about your own situation, and guys, this applies to me completely, because I can't tell you how often I feel panicked and I feel like I can't function with my money because I already feel like there's not enough of it. And so, I'm in a panic and I'm looking at whatever other people have, and like everything he said was applying to my life and what I needed to hear, because I used to even spend money because I didn't have enough of it. I know that sounds to a lot of people like the most awful judgment, and it wasn't good judgment, but again, it was stress, and I was like, well, I'm not going to have enough money to pay this bill anyway, might as well take this $5 and, get a coffee with it, as opposed to doing what I should have done with that $5, which is not spend it and go home and get coffee. The next thing is to hoard and protect versus being generous. So no matter what we have, it is always very, very important to be generous with other people. That doesn't mean you have your last $2 to your name and you go give them away. But it means to keep a generous heart, to always be compassionate and loving. And sometimes there's a way we can help other people, whether that be to help them by, doing a service, doing a job for them, being supportive of them, listening, calling somebody, listening to them during a hard time. There are so many ways that you can be supportive of people and not hoard your items in your home, because in the end, guys, no matter how much cute stuff you buy, it's going to stack up around you and it's going to feel like pain and misery, and it's going to be suffocating. You're not sharing it. You're not using it. You're storing it. And 9 times out of 10, you don't even know what you have in your house. So that in and of itself can be considered a scarcity mentality, because you're panicking and you're hoarding and you're like, I'm going to save all this, I'm not going to apply it, I'm going to keep it all for me. And that's not the way God intended it to be. He intended us to really truly help each other, love each other, be compassionate, use what we need, but share what we don't. So just wanted to throw that out there to you guys. The next one is take a long-term view. So a lot of times we get caught in the present, what is happening right now in our lives. We feel distressed, we feel depressed, we feel in a rut. We don't know how to get out of it. We don't know how to dig ourselves out of it. But we don't look at the long-term view. And something he said was, if you start right now and you do things to make your, 10-year, 20-year self in the future happy, you could change your life. So for instance, if you have a little bit of extra in the bank and you invest it right now, it's not going to help your life right now because that money has to sit. But in 10, 20, 30 years, that money is going to work for you. And he wasn't just talking about money. That's just even kindness, even, loving each other and being supportive and lending a helping hand. It will come back around. It's like karma. I believe in that. I have seen that happen. And I can't tell you how many times my best friend and I have saved each other in our lives. And we've gotten to a place in our life where we don't do it to the level we used to have to do it when we were kids. We were not blessed with the supportive, happy childhood situation that a lot of people are today. But with that being said, we had each other and we helped each other and we lived with each other when we had nowhere else to go. So it's just amazing to see how it can come back around to you, and it keeps on going through generations. If my best friend has children, if I have children, if my children ever run away, I'd want them to go to her, and vice versa. whatever is going on, I know that she always has my back and I have hers. And you know, if you don't have a person like that, I would inspire you to mingle, go to church, get out a little bit, you know, try to make some connections, whether it's online or through YouTube. There are some amazing content creators, guys, that will email you, that will support you through whatever you're going through. I'm trying to think more of what I can do on my page as a support for people. Coming up with some kind of idea, because I feel like there's a lot of people that are at their house alone, they're watching me, and they're wishing that they had maybe support that I have, or a friendship, and they don't know how to find it. A lot of people medically cannot go out of their house. A lot of people emotionally cannot go out of their house. And when I say medically, you know, I mean physically, or they have something health-wise going on. And so one of the best things I did when I was younger was I had pen pals, and I wrote to people. I didn't have a lot of money. I didn't trade all that much. It was more just writing letters. I had pen pals in Africa when I was little, and I would write them back and forth. They'd tell me about their life. I'd tell them about mine, and it was really cool to do that, and you just feel a little bit less alone in the world. So how about y'all tell me, just, you know, just based off this message and whatnot, how would you like me to do some form of pen pal, like support pen pal thing on my page, where I help people connect with each other and find pen pals? I'm trying to just come up with an idea, brainstorm some things. If you are interested in that and you would want to sign up for that, or you feel like you could use a friend in your life right now, you need some support, or you would like to be a supporter of somebody that needs support, please post it below. That would mean a lot to me. I cannot guarantee I'm going to do anything, but it's an idea and I'm milling it around, and it's a good way to pay it forward. And I think it's a good long-term view, because if you stay connected with somebody and you write them and you'll have a really strong friendship, who knows? In 10, 20 years, that person may still be there for you. I can't guarantee that, but I found that real friends tend to really stick around and be there for you. So that's just an idea. I'm trying to see what else on here I want to read to you. Let's see. Let me just read this little parable to you. This is Hebrews 11:13 through 16. It says, "Each one of these people of faith died not yet having in hand what was promised, but still believing." How did they do it? They saw it way off in the distance, waved their greeting, and accepted the fact that they were transients in this world. People who live this way make it plain that they are looking for their true home. If they were homesick for the old country, they could have gone back at any time they wanted. But they were after a far better country than that, heaven country. You can see why God is so proud of them and has a city waiting for them. It says specifically in the Bible that God has a city waiting for you. So no matter what situation financially you are in right now, what situation emotionally you are in right now, remember God has you. And if you're going through a really hard time right now, remember He draws near to the brokenhearted in all situations, and He will be there to love you through it, and you will figure it out, because we are strong women and there are strong men out there that will protect those women. I believe that. So you just have to find them, and that's challenging. Don't get me wrong. That's challenging to find a real good strong man who will protect you, but not impossible. You just can't lose your faith in that. And the same goes for finding a really good friend that has your back. It's important, guys. It's important to have somebody to pick up that phone and be able to call them. Let's see. What else we got? So number 4 on my list here, I know I haven't been like saying the names, number 4 or whatever, but it says be intentional with your resources. Decide ahead of time on decisions. So that's kind of what I was talking about. Think about yourself. So for instance, I'm 30 years old. What can I do in my 30s that's going to make my 40s easier? It may not be cushioned, but what would make it easier if I set in place some things now? What are some things? So here's a question to you. What can you do in your life right now that in 10 years would make your life easier? What are some things you could change? Some strategies you could develop? What are some, I'm trying to think of the word, like rituals you could start doing, whether it's exercise or things you could do that were peaceful, that brought you tranquility and happiness, all things like that. Let me know below. I'd love to know some ideas. They could potentially help me, because sometimes I just can't brainstorm enough creative ideas, and I really like, help with that. So that would be amazing. So 2 Corinthians 9:6-7 says, remember, a stingy planter gets a stingy crop. It's probably a stingy crop. We'll say stingy. A stingy planter gets a stingy crop. A lavish planter gets a lavish crop. I want each of you to take plenty of time to think it over and make up your own mind what you will give. That will protect you against sob stories and arm twisting. God loves it when the giver delights in the giving. That is really important when it comes to tithing. I just want to reread this one part. That will protect you against sob stories and arm twisting. God loves it when the giver delights in the giving. So churches that pressure you to give money when you do not have it, if they, single you out and try to in some form, give you all these gifts to give to them or something that feels strange, that feels like not Christian, like the Lord is not in it, do not do it. Your heart should be in it. I know the Bible does say to give 10% of everything that you make, and I am a believer in tithing, and I actually have not done that as much in my life as I should have done. And that's something that I want to incorporate into my own life. This is not a message about tithing, but it is a very important message from God that He doesn't want you to tithe with being pressured. He wants you to feel happy about it. He wants you to think about it and to give to your church what makes you feel good about giving. So that's very, very important. So let's see. They just talked a lot about financial legacy. They wanted you to have a really positive attitude. They said your attitude has to be right to leave a financial legacy. So remembering your money is not just about you as far as who it's going to affect. It's going to affect your grandchildren, your children, your grandchildren, your grandchildren's children. That doesn't mean you have to be a millionaire and pass a ton of money along, but it means you can teach your kids about money and how precious it is and how to take care of it and how to let it bloom and how to let it grow and how to give, because so many people miss the boat when it comes to teaching kids how to be generous, how to give. If I had children and I see a homeless person, and I hate calling them homeless people, but I don't really know the correct term. I mean, I've heard terms like street people, and so I don't like those terms, but y'all know who I'm talking about. I want my child to take $5 and I'll give it to them and I'll be right there, and I want them to walk up and hand it to that person. I want to teach them the importance of giving, no matter what walk of life they are in, because in fact they would be blessed, whereas that homeless person is weak and they are in need and they're probably very scared. So teach your children about money, teach your children about handling it, teach yourself that everything you have, you are lucky to have it, but we can blink and lose it. We could potentially pass away tomorrow, hopefully not. But if we did, let's ask ourselves, would we be happy with where we are today? Do people know where their stuff would go if they were to pass away? He even mentioned having a will and the importance of having a will so that if you did pass away, your money and your things could be passed on to somebody you love. He said 70% of people do not have a will. That is something I personally want to write. I know I'm in my 30s, and I know that sounds crazy, but my siblings have passed away. Cancer is a very real thing, and my sister passed away from cancer. My brother definitely did not plan on passing away. He had a very unexpected death. Both of my sisters and my brother passed away from conditions and incidents that they were not expecting, before their 40s they passed away. So, actually, I think my brother did make it to his 40s, but before their 50s, they passed away. And I think most people would start thinking about a will these days, maybe in their 60s or 70s, because we live so long and we don't want to think about death. We don't want to think that tomorrow we may not wake up, and most of us want to feel like we're going to live forever. And I can tell you that people that do plan, that do have wills, that even people with conditions, they tend to up it when it comes to bucket lists, to experiencing. There's even a country song, and I don't know who it's by, but it has something to do with live like you are dying. And it means live like you don't have that much time on this world, and do as much as you can to experience life, and to love yourself, and to travel, and to meet people. And if you speed it up a little bit, and if you do put a little bit of, not panic, but energy into that idea, you will find that you'll create and do so much more with your life if you understand how precious it is and how short our time is here compared to how long it will be after this world. My granddad has always taught me that. My church has always taught me that. So people of all walks of life are always welcome to watch my videos. I do not care what sexuality you are. I do not care what race you are. I have no judgment. You are always, always welcome here on my channel. I love seeing you here. I love the support. I love you being here if you're not a Christian. I love you being here if you don't believe most of this and you're just watching it for motivation. That's what a church is supposed to be, and that's who I believe Jesus was when he was here on earth. He loved people from the prostitutes to the disciples to people that were even higher up. You know, he loved the people that hung him on the cross, and he forgave them when they were hanging him on the cross, nailing his hands and his feet to the cross, and they placed thorns on his head, and he had blood running down his face, and he still forgave the people that did that to him. So no matter what your worst situation is, just remember you can let go of it and you can heal from it because he forgave us. And we're all sinners for doing what we did to him, and he's been such a big motivation in my life. I can tell you the other night I was having a really hard night, and you know, we all have those, and I just sat in bed and I felt so defeated. Financially, I felt defeated. I mean, everything we're talking about today, the over shopping, the financial, the debt, and I just like sat in bed and I prayed out loud to him, and I prayed for a while, and I just kind of let it all out. I let it all out. I let it out who I missed right now, you know, and what I was experiencing and how frustrated I was. And today I feel much stronger, and I made it to church, and I truly believe with all my heart that he heard me and he drew near to me and he has me. And I have to remind myself of that. So don't feel alone if you're going through something. Know that there is support. Remember to post below if you are interested in doing a support pen pal type situation. I'll come up with some ideas. I want to hear what you guys have to say. If you would like to email me specifically about my idea, my email will also be located below. It is craftsandcamera@gmail.com. All my other social media is located below. Most importantly, my church's information is located below. So I go to Seacoast, and every Sunday and also several times during the week, they have a live church where you can go onto the computer and watch it on the live screen where I am. So you can see exactly what I am seeing. You can listen to the music and you can hear the message and you can take notes while you're on the couch drinking coffee, and it's so convenient. I've done it myself when I've been sick. I've stayed home and I've watched it. So it's a really easy resource if you would like to attend church or get some advice or just to listen to the message and get motivation in your life. I will locate all that down below, or list it all down below. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for joining me this Sunday. Have a beautiful day. Stay out of the rain. It's about to storm like crazy outside, so I'm gonna get off here, but take care guys, and I will see you soon. Bye.